back. Starting the second hour of the weekend edition of the Korelin Economics Report. I'm Al Korelin. Appreciate you joining me. We are, as you know, or you should know by now, unless you're not taking notes, originating this entire show from the San Francisco Hard Asset Conference being held here at the Marriott Hotel by International Investment Conferences. I got to tell you, this is a really, really great venue here. Chatting right now with Gary Cope. Gary and I are talking about one of the companies that he's involved in, Orko Silver. Interest of full disclosure, I have to say that I am a shareholder in Orko Silver. I actually have not a lot, but probably 25,000 shares, which I purchased years and years ago, and have no intention of selling that stock. Orko is also a sponsor on our website. What does that mean? That means if you want to get more information about the company, click on the banner. That's all you have to do. So don't take this as investment advice, because Big Al is not a registered investment advisor. Going to start out on a positive note. Pan American Silver told you guys to go fly a kite. They weren't going to continue working in the company. That's somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but I know you want to talk about that.
Well, Pan American, due to circumstances, within their own company, got themselves in a deadline problem. They had a deadline to deliver feasibility by last April. They were never going to be able to do that based on their progress of work. And that deadline came up, and lo and behold, a few weeks before the deadline, they ended up purchasing Minefinders, and their stock had been going down, and they got to the point where they had to take us out or give us back the project, and management, I believe, wanted to take us out. They went to they went to a board of directors meeting, and the board said, we're not really in shape to do this right now, we can't do it. Then the deadline kicked in, and they had a week left to deliver feasibility, and the only thing they could do logically was to give us the project back.
And that, in my opinion, was a huge blessing in disguise.
Well, in the long term, it has been a blessing in disguise. In the short term, it hurt us. And, we're still a little bit fighting the battle that because Pan American gave the project back, there must be something wrong with the project. And absolutely nothing is further from the truth. And it's starting to bear that out now. As we've publicly disclosed before, we've had 8 CAs signed and with standstills, and we are now getting down to the final strokes with 2 or 3 of these companies that are very, very interested in acquiring the project.
Having said that, you've got some numbers coming out that are pretty interesting. We chatted about it a little bit at dinner last night. We talked about it earlier this morning. Say as much as you can about that, would you?
Well, we just put out a new resource, Al, that has upped the resource at Preciosa to 264 million ounces of silver. But the big news is that the amount of mineable ounces that came out in the report went from the old PEA at 83 million ounces to 240 million ounces. So tripling the amount of mineable ounces. And what's happening right now is AMEC is in the process of doing a PEA. It should be ready for February. And they're optimizing the mine plan, and we're really looking forward to seeing those numbers.
Let's talk about the concept of a PEA. For those folks who aren't real familiar with that, preliminary economic assessment, let's talk about the implications of that and what that means.
Well, it's kind of a first look at the economics of actually mining the deposit. You get into your CapEx, which is your capital expenditure to build the mine and the mill. You get into the mining costs, what's it going to cost to produce per ton per ounce, and it's a first look. It's not an end look, because you get that in a full-fledged feasibility study, but it's kind of a first look at the economics.
Okay, and the impression, obviously, that you gave to myself with the numbers that you just talked about, some of the investment advisors who we spoke with last night. I mean, this is nothing but good for the company. I mean, that's a big number, a tripling in size. That's something that people need to consider.
Well, at 264 million ounces, you're one of the largest primary silver deposits in the world, undeveloped, in an absolute excellent location. We just had one mining company down on site, and the first comment was in their opinion, it was the best site they'd ever seen for a mine, open pit mine. That kind of comment is just adding to what we think is the value of the project, and the overall opinion is tremendous.
You know, Gary, you've been in the business a long time. You started out years and years and years ago as an investment advisor. You got in the business as a company principal. You've been around a long time in terms of the hard assets sector of the investment community. What's your feeling right now, mid to long term, for silver and gold? I mean, I couldn't be more bullish. What do you think?
I agree with you, Al. I'm very bullish, medium to long term. I just don't see any way you can look at what's going on in the world and the fundamentals and not come to that conclusion. You know, these countries have got themselves in so much debt problem they can't get out, and the smart people know that the only real value is going to be precious metals. I don't see anything else that you know you would turn to. And we're just going to see more and more money printed, and that just leads to more and more higher values in gold and silver. So medium to long term, I'm very bullish.
Well, I am too. I also have a tendency to hedge my bets, even within one particular investment sector. The way that I hedge my bets is in the hard asset sector is kind of a combination of purchasing the commodity itself, gold and silver, and purchasing shares. Now, if someone is a believer in the market, which you and I obviously are, it's our livelihood, but you know, I have to say that I think that purchasing individual securities, because of the leverage involved with that, is a great way to go.
And I'm with you. I'm coming, as you mentioned, I'm an ex-broker. I'm a gambler, a risk taker, and so for me, I mean, most of my wealth is in my own two company shares. I do have some physical as well, but most of it is in shares because I can control. At least I get to see what's in the companies and where they're going, and as long as I have confidence in it, I have no problem putting my money into that.
Well, and that's one of the reasons that I happen to be invested in both of your companies, and that's been fully disclosed on this site for quite some time right now. Let's talk about specific plans, exactly what you're going to be doing down in Mexico with Orko for the next year.
Well, first of all, I don't think it'll be around for a year. The way the negotiations are going, I think we're coming to a fairly rapid close for the sale of Orko. That's assuming we get a price that we're happy with, because all of these companies who are interested, at least the ones that we're talking to, has to be a friendly deal by contract. So unless we get a price we're happy with, there won't be any hostile offer or anything by contract. There cannot be. If we do not reach an agreement here shortly, we'll be continuing on the process of taking the deposit to pre-feasibility. There's a small exploration program going on now led by Ben Whiting for a completely different part of the project. It's a greenfields project 15 kilometers away from the known resource. And then we'll also have AMEC finishing off the PEA, and with that PEA will come recommendations to take it to the next step.
And in terms of financing, you're pretty well set. You're not going to have to raise money if, in fact, well, or maybe you will, I don't know. But if, in fact, a takeover doesn't happen in the short term, you guys are going to have to raise some more money. There's just more opportunities there.
Yeah, we currently have about $11.5 million in the bank, more than enough to do certainly right through to the PEA. Depending what the recommendations are that come out of the PEA, we may or may not have to raise more. But like I said, what it looks like to me is that Orko's days are coming to an end fairly shortly.
Interesting situation. That is very definitely a forward-looking statement, so you need to take it as being a forward-looking statement. Also, remember, this is not investment advice. Again, okay, I'm chatting with an old friend here, known Mr. Cope for a long time. Unfortunately, my big goal with Gary has been to score better than he does on the golf course, and it's not happening. But then again, you're probably 30 years younger than I am, so, or something like that. Gary, what do you think of the show? We got 30 seconds left here.
San Francisco is always a great venue to come down to. It's a nice balance of both institutional and retail, and we're happy to be here.
You know what, and so are we. Ladies and gentlemen, stick around. Big Al's going to be right back, going to bring back Dudley Baker. Dudley has a very, very interesting website that we're going to be getting more and more involved with him. Going to be talking about that in the next segment.